Hello guys and girls listening to this is Rija, and as usual we're gonna check a subreddit community. Today's video is gonna be about r/entitled parents. And I decided to mix things up, make this video a little different. So in this video you will see some of the newest posts and also some of the top posts from this community. But don't worry, these are new posts, you haven't seen them. Without further ado, let's start with r/entitled parents. Couple would rather have a 73-year-old with a bad back shovel their snow than their kid getting wet. So the mandatory disclaimers first. English is not my first language. I have only been told this story, never witnessed the conversation. I did help him to shovel the snow though. So my 73 years old grandfather is Grandpa, the couple is EC, and the kids are EK. EC has garbage cans by between there and my grandparents' garages. During winter it snows quite a lot in our area, not severe exactly, but a substantial amount. Both their roofs can drop snow down on the area around the bins in the winter. Although my grandparents' roof is a lot less steep and doesn't drop a lot, but EC insists that Grandpa has to shovel there anyway. They say their kids could get wet when they take out the trash. Now my grandpa has worked on chips his entire life and has a pretty bad back. He also limps. Has a limp? He is in no condition to shovel the heavy wet snow that is behind there, and it usually takes him an hour. That's all, not the worst story here, only one I wanted to tell. Just some who think everybody should help them. Sorry for taking up a minute of your life. I am an unreliable relationship ruiner, so I'm gonna read this post with the help of a friend of mine. His YouTube channel is The Real Toho, and he makes gameplays mostly, but recently he has started doing Reddit readings, and he's a pretty cool guy. I'm gonna leave a link to his channel in the description in case you wanna check him out. I am an early childhood teacher, and on the side I often offer babysitting hours to families as it's a nice way to have some extra cash on hand. I have a steady set of families and sometimes we'll have a every other Tuesday kind of gig. One of the families I had sat for in the past for their first 2 children contacted me one day.
So, we need you to come watch the girls Saturday night.
This Saturday, I'll be out of town for my anniversary with my husband. I'm actually leaving work early on Friday and won't return until Tuesday.
No, I need you to babysit. I already made the dinner reservations and had to make a deposit so we cannot cancel.
I'm sorry, we also have made reservations to be away camping and that is also non-refundable.
Could you just come back for a few hours that night?
No.
I cannot believe this. You are usually so reliable and trustworthy. What should I tell the children now, that you won't be here for them? You have ruined my evening and maybe our relationship, since we cannot go out for dinner and talk.
Sorry, I will not be available.
I can't believe this. I will let the other parents know what you did. You wouldn't understand how important it is to have time away from your children.
Note, she did in fact tell other parents and it did not go how she had envisioned. Second note, I just babysit for this family the previous Thursday. Please don't make plans before you know if you have care for your children. I didn't have children. If I'm not committed to work, I can do whatever I want with my days off. It's almost as if the babysitters had a life of their own. Our garage is not your babysitter. My husband and I live in an apartment in a hip metro area. Our complex is small. Only 3 units have garages in the front of the building. We are one of those units. Our building is also on the same street as a government-subsidized apartment complex. I mention this because this housing has specifications against illegal substances, crime, etc. So one night, husband comes in from walking the dogs and mentions there is a baby in front of our garage. We check it out. There is a baby in a stroller parked in front of our garage. 2 young women are on the steps of the building next to us. I recognize one as a woman I have seen in passing who was recently pregnant, so I deduce it's her child. We didn't have any plans to leave for the rest of the night, no need to open the garage, so we let them be. Same situation continues to happen and we start to notice garbage where they like to hang out. Small wine bottles, beer bottles, cheap bags, etc. Came home to a dirty diaper in our driveway one day too. Husband and I carpool. One night we are coming home from work and I see the 2 walking over to their normal spot. So I ask, if you're going to hang out over here, can you pick up your garbage? One of the girls looked like no one had ever asked her to do anything ever, replied, yeah, and walked past their usual spot. Same shit continues to happen, including the woman leaving their baby in front of our garage in the pouring rain. One night, husband and I come home from work and a car with a busted out window is parked in front of our garage. Mind you, we live in a metro area, and despite our no parking sign, this happens quite a bit. So, as we are pulling up, we honk, no response. Just the two women plus a few dudes hanging out in our driveway with kid. I get out and ask them to move their car. One of the women responds that they are, but they need to buckle the baby, and they'll just continue to stand there. So I ask if they need help. The woman, currently parked on my property, replies that she has a child and if I keep cursing she will call the cops. To which I reply, I don't give a about your kid. Kid is like 6 months old, my garage babysits him while his mom does other stuff, and they are loading him into a car without a window. I think an F-bomb is the least of their worries. They finally pile into their mobile, drive away cursing, but return to put a cigarette out in my husband's car that is worth more than their entire net worth. Good thing we are older and have better insurance, vandalism is covered at not deductible. Entitled Dad tells me to throw away my degree. Before I begin the story, here is a bit of background to get a general idea. Last year, I graduated from my university and worked at this bookstore for an extra 6 months. It was a good start to having a job, build some experience in retail, and I had money in my pocket, so I wasn't complaining. The summer was easy, but once the fall semester began, it was a nightmare. The bookstore was packed to the brim with mostly freshmen and their parents buying books at the last minute. By this point, juniors and seniors are either smart enough to purchase or rent their books early in June, so they could get it in July or early August to avoid the fall rush, or are resourceful enough to find cheaper copies elsewhere. $200 book for free because Tammy has a scholarship, or my Billy is an athlete and he got into school for free, or my personal favorite, I graduated from this school 30 years ago so my child should get a discount. Sorry, you must have graduated from a different school because mine didn't work like that. I'm aware of scholarships that allow students to get books for free, but in these cases the scholarships that got these kids into the school did only that, got them a free tuition. Books had to be paid out of pocket. Should have read the fine print, but I got plenty of parents like that who will complain to no end, and after about a few days it didn't bother me. One day I was ringing out this dad and his daughter. Now, because of how I look, most people will assume that I was a high school junior or a college freshman and will be shocked when I told them that not only was I really in my 20s, but had just graduated college. So, as usual, the dad asked what classes I was taking, and when I told him I graduated, he at first congratulated me, but when asked what I got my degree in, it was all downhill from there. I told him proudly that I had a bachelor in English, and he just gives me the strangest look. His mood completely changes and he went from congratulating me to telling me that I had quote unquote wasted my time and should throw away my degree because it's useless. He goes on and on about how I should have got an engineering or mathematician's degree because that's where the money is, and goes, "Such a shame you wasted all the time for nothing." I was livid but had nothing to say. I just wanted to ring him out as fast as possible, but he just had to buy a buttload of textbooks for his daughter. To add salt in the wound, there were a few books that were rented only, so that meant extra work for me to do, and extra time for him to grind the salt. While that was happening, the dad then asked my co-worker next to me what her degree was. When she told him that she was still in school and that her major was nursing, he practically praised her and worshipped her, telling her that she's got a good future ahead of her. She has a good head and how she's going to make lots of money. He looked at his daughter and tells her she should aspire to be like my co-worker and find a useful degree that will get her a real job and will make lots of money. Mind you, this daughter had been so embarrassed the entire time that she stayed quiet. After the transaction was finally completed, the dad gives my co-worker one more praise, wishing her good luck on her studies. Then glanced at me and mutters, "Such a shame," and leaves the store. Even my co-worker said that the dad was a Now, I know that having an English degree isn't the best money-making degree to have, but it's my degree, I earned it, I worked hard for it, writing is my passion, and I knew what I was getting into. I am tired of people assuming that I'm one of those students who go to college and expect a degree is going to land them a multi-millionaire job and be completely destroyed when reality hits them. That's not who I am. I have a lot of friends who are medical and engineering students, and they have told me that those majors are highly stressful, competitive, and take a lot of your time. I have heard horror stories from them about how students either had mental breakdowns, changed majors, switched to minors, or even withdrew from classes altogether because they couldn't handle the stress and pressure that came with being an engineering major. Venting aside, a few weeks go by and the fall rush simmers down. I ring out this engineering professor. Professors do get discounts, which I had to put in through the computer, so that's how I knew who he was. When he asked the same question, am I a freshman, what's my major, etc. He's predictably shocked that I was in my 20s and a graduate despite still looking like a 17-year-old. When he asked what my degree was, at first I was hesitant, remembering the dad's comment, but I told him dejectedly that I was an English graduate. I was almost expecting another useless degree lecture, but instead I got the opposite. The professor praised me and congratulated me for my hard work and told me something I wouldn't expect to hear from an engineering professor. Having an English degree is the most important thing to have. At first I was a skeptic, but then he tells me that writing is a form of communication and people need good communication in general as it helps them in life, such as getting a good job and interacting with people. Being able to write meant that you can write a good resume, convincing letters, important essays, and stories that can inspire and influence people. That made me feel a little better, and when I told him about the dad, he pretty much laughed him off and basically said that the dad doesn't know what he's talking about. Then he let me in on a secret. As an engineering professor, he can personally say that his students are dumb. Not from the lack of teaching, but his students can't seem to write simple answers on a question, much less write essays. He's graded papers where students literally, and I mean literally, put lol and oh my god on their papers. He even had to report 5 students because they plagiarized an essay off the internet, which is a big no-no in any school. By the way, the transaction was long since done, but since I didn't have any more customers, he stayed a little longer to tell me that I had a good head on my shoulders. I have a future, and I should be proud of myself. I thanked him for his kind words, and before he left, he told me to forget about that dad. He probably never went to college anyway. You know, I will never say that to someone in person because that's a horrible thing to say. But I think more or less the same way. Like, I think, okay, there are some degrees that you need to study. For example, obviously, to be a doctor or something like that, you need to study medicine. Like, it's mandatory, right? You need to study that. But for example, even myself, I have a degree in business administration. So, like, now that I have it, like, after studying for 4 or 5 years and after spending money and, you know, time on school and all that, I think to myself sometimes, was it worth it? Couldn't I have achieved the things I have achieved without a degree? That's what I think. And the answer is, I don't know, because I'm a college teacher. I don't know if you know, guys and girls, but the thing is, to be a college teacher, I need a degree. But, like, I usually teach English. Like, I don't usually teach other subjects, so who knows? But I guess what I'm trying to say is, guys and girls listening, I want to make a question. Do you think a college degree is completely necessary? Yes or no, and why? Girls and guys, I would love to hear your comments about this subreddit community. Also comment on what subreddit I should do next. As always, a like, comment and share is greatly appreciated. And please subscribe if you like the content. Bye!